Good day, good people. Good day, good people. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. This is your man Marcus back with another episode of A Dope Black Dad. Let me slow it up and let you see it again. A Dope Black Dad. Listen, I'm excited. First off, I'm just excited to be back. It's been a lot that has been going on in life. You have to sometimes realize that life is just going to hit. I started off my podcast saying that I was going to try to live things as an open book. As things got hectic, I was going to kind of walk you guys through it. And I kind of dropped the ball on that because life hit. And when I tell you life hit hard at the end, middle of 2024. But we are back for 2025. Stronger, better. Got my drive. I got a lot that I'm ready to share with you all to welcome you back into this life of a dope black dad. So first thing, just welcome back. Listen, y'all have been killing me on my inbox about where you been, when you posting something new. I appreciate the love. I do. You all keep me grinding. You all keep me going. And you keep me motivated to know that you are looking and expecting the work that I'm putting out. And I'm extremely humbled for everybody who listens to 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or even the entire episode. I appreciate it because that's why I am back. So I've been taking care of life. I'm going to talk about a lot of it in episodes to come. Just been taking care of life. You all know I don't edit too much, but this is here we are. The best way I can explain is that life hit, but my faith has expanded. I'm going to run that back. Life hit. I'm talking standing at the plate, knock them out the park. Life hit, but it's caused my faith to expand. And I'm here and I'm grateful and I'm humbled for it. These lessons that life has taught me the past year has humbled me in ways that I can only explain and share with you in bits and pieces, and that's what I'm going to do. But for this episode today, it's very rare that we give our flowers to our fathers. So I wanted to take this episode specifically and dedicate it to our fathers. So the title of this episode for today that we're going to jump in is called A Letter to Fathers. You all know I've talked about my dad in previous episodes, roller coaster relationship, started going to counseling myself to start being able to deal with some of the ins and outs and ups and downs and things that I was holding against my dad. Not being fair to him because he wasn't even aware of those things that I was holding against him. And I brought it to him and we had a conversation about it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that our relationship is like the best one in the world, but I can tell you this. Since I've made that jump, or since I've come out of my shell to have those conversations, we have started to have more conversation, and it's not like awkward. And so I appreciate my dad for listening to me in that space when I came to him in a vulnerable state and shared with him. He didn't judge me. The only question he asked is, why didn't you tell me this earlier? I never knew. And I couldn't hold that for him. So Dad, I appreciate you. I love you. I've had a recent situation go on in my life where I've had to make a big jump following my faith. And it caused me to walk away from something that was solid. It caused me to walk away from something that has caused other people to question, why would you walk away from something that is solid? But in my faith, it's challenging me, you can't trust these things to sustain you more than I can. So I said, all right, God. And I told my dad about it. He wasn't the first person I told about it, but I told him about it. And he said a very simple, non-theatrical response that was pretty much what I needed. He said, well, you got to do it. if this is what he's calling you to do, you have no choice but to do it. Because in his will is the safest place that you can be. And that was pretty much it. That was all he said. He didn't ask me why. He didn't ask me, was I sure? He didn't ask me what's coming up next. He just gave me a few words of comfort that I did not know that I needed at that moment. And so I'm glad that I was able to I had my guard up, because I had talked to some other people and they were, iffy about it or whatever. But to get that calming reassurance from my dad, that meant so much. So again, Dad, I appreciate you. All right, so let's continue to keep going. There's some things that I want to just have conversations with our fathers today, our dads. First thing is just keep going. Keep going. You all know I have a steeple amount of girls. I got a whole stable of them. And I have to continue to drive with them. I have to continue to drive with them. And it gets hard. It gets tiresome. It gets frustrating. But sometimes I just wonder, hey, what about me sometimes? And that's okay. Because as men, we do need safe spaces to call our own. We do need safe spaces that we can come and refill ourselves so we can continue to go back and strive, not to be a parent, not to be a husband, but to just be a man. We need places that can continue to fuel us to keep going. We need anchors. We need spots where we can go in and sit at a port and become and get filled with everything that we need so we can continue to go back. And I want to kill the myth of saying there's a perfect parent. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. I'm going to say that again, and I'm going to say it with a little bit more intensity. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. That does not exist. If you can find me the perfect parent, then I'll bring them on the show and they can give me some advice on what to do. Because the idea of perfection is to say that you are always accurate. It's to say that you always got it together. You always have the right answer. You never make a mistake. You're just always good. But that's not actuality for anybody. So to any of my fellows who are thinking that you're trying to be the perfect father to your children, that's an unrealistic expectation that you have put on yourself, and it's not real. You're going to disappoint your children. You're going to have your children get upset with you. You're going to have moments when they may not just straight up like you. Sometimes that means you're doing your job. But don't look for your green check or your 100% affirmation of if you're being a right parent to come from your children. Because growing up, we thought we knew all the answers for ourselves as kids. But if our parents would have just left us to do whatever we wanted to do, then who knows? Some people grew up in those situations where they have been fending and they've been providing and making ways for themselves all their lives. So they may not have that presence of an active parent who's been there helping them and guiding them. And I applaud you for this part of your life that you've gotten to and you've been able to do that. So big ups to you. But the role of being a parent is not always getting everything right. And sometimes the role of a parent is being able to admit when you have done something wrong. Now, I know, I'm 41, I'll be 42 years old, and I was kind of raised in a generation of parents who rarely apologize. So it's rare that you get most parents older to admit that they were wrong. And sometimes you got to not look for that expectation. But sometimes when you can, it's good to explain to your kids that you were wrong and say it and name it. I do it. I didn't do it all my life with as a parent, but as I got older and matured, I began to allow myself to say, hey, Michaela, I was wrong about this. Dad messed up about this. If I made you feel this way, that wasn't my intentions, and explain my intent. because sometimes the explanation of a thing, it helps. Because when we don't explain certain things, it allows us to just sit there mentally and create the reality of the thing, and when that's not even the case. All right. We live in a world where we all want to leave a legacy for our children. We want to leave an inheritance for our children. Usually, we say a good name or an inheritance, we think of financial. We think of tangible things that we say we're going to leave for our kids so they can be further off than we were. And we usually account that to being a money situation. But all the time, an inheritance for your children is not always in the form of money. And we have to be okay with that. Where I am right now, I don't see myself in a situation where I'm going to leave my kids an abundance of money if something was to happen to me. Yes, I have an insurance policy, but I don't see myself right now. I'm not saying it'll never happen, but today, I don't see myself right now leaving an inheritance as it relates to funds with my children. But there are other ways that we can leave an inheritance for our children as fathers. One, your name. Your name sometimes can set our children up places that money can't even get them in. Because sometimes having the name can get you in a door that money can't always get you in. So I kind of shifted my life and tried to leave a good name for my kids. So I'm very careful on how I handle people now on my day-to-day life, because I don't want to handle people in a certain way that once my kids get older and they hear, "Oh, Marcus is your dad? Oh, nah, if you anything like him, then you know," people already have this notion already in their mind of who my kids will be based off of who I am. It is not to say that I'm perfect, because again, that's not reality. But I do want to get to a point where my kids can go somewhere and they hear my name, they hear Marcus Smothers, and they say, "Hey, is Marcus your dad?" They already get it now, because Michaela says she can't go anywhere without somebody knowing me. And not because of just who I am, but an influence or something that I've done for that person sometime in their life, they're now remembering that. Because people always remember how you made them feel. So in that case, I want someone to be able to do something for my children based off of something that I may have done for them, whether I did it intentionally or unintentionally. But those are legacy points that we can leave for our children. We can leave a name. We can get to a place in our lives where people respect our name, not necessarily the money that we have. Because you can have money, it don't have the respect, may not have the friendships, may not have quality relationships. I know everybody loves the statement of trying to get your bag. Get your bag. But what's the use of having a bag by yourself and you unhappy? Can you be happy with just you and your money? I don't know. I've read articles of plenty of millionaires committing suicide. So that kind of tells me that money is not always the epitome of happiness. So guys, I really want you to think about this, and not even guys, but mothers, family members, just think about this thing. Can you leave a good name for your children once you're gone? What name are you still leaving for them? Can they use that to advance themselves if the money is not there? Another point, fellas, we got to heal ourselves. We have to get to a point where mentally, physically, spiritually, that we understand who we are outside of a title, outside of a name, meaning husband, brother, uncle, dad. Who are you outside of all of those things? If we strip those things away from you, if we strip your responsibilities away from you, who are you? And I think we have to do some digging as men to figure that out about ourselves. And that usually comes in the form of therapy. Or it just comes with a good sense of, you might have a good accountability circle around you, which is an amazing thing to have that helps keep you centered and balanced. But there's some past trauma that we may have experienced prior to bringing new life into this world that we have not healed ourselves from. And if that's the case, it's going to be real hard to address those issues that may come up in our children when they do. So if I'm continuing to deal with unforgiveness or hate or pain towards my dad, and it blinds me from seeing a certain thing about me, it may be hard for me to see that thing in myself or even in my child as they're growing up. So I have to try to heal Marcus for my girls, because I don't want them to experience a hurt version of me, or I don't want to always try to live life to the point where I will never be like my parents. Like, it's good in some senses because we all have certain types of trauma that we may have experienced from our parents, but we can't always allow that to be the motivating factor of how we raise our children. So I do encourage fathers to, heal yourself. If there's some pain or some things that you have not addressed and you know what those things are, you probably know what those things are as you're listening to it. Don't be afraid to work on them. There was a show that came out some years ago, and it only lasted one season, and I was very hurt about that show. And it was called Council of Dads. And I found out that it was actually a book also, and so I'm reading the book to learn more about it and see how much it was aligned with the show. And in the show, and I'm contrasting it with the book as well, there was a gentleman who was diagnosed with cancer, and he was about to die. And in that, he decided to get a group of 5 or 6 men who would agree to help raise his children in the sense of him once he was gone. It's almost like the real term for godparents. Godparents are those who are going to support us in the raising of our children. And if something happens, they can take on the responsibility to raise up our children in the sense of the beliefs that we have also. So godchildren are not just because you my best friend, are we cool, that I'm going to give you the label of a godparent. Back to this. So in this Council of Dads, and all of these different men represented a part of this man's life. And they learned him, they knew him. And so he wanted his kids to have a great, stable foundation, even in his absence. And not even to think about it in the lens from if I'm dead. Like, I'm thinking about that even now. What is my current council of people or other men in my life who can support me as I'm raising my children? And even in the, if something happens, I know that they are going to continue to elevate my voice in the ears of my girls without me being there. And that's important. Like right now, can you identify your circle of people who you know who are not just going to always hype you up, but they go check you also. And that's going to be needed. So even for me, like I'm going around in my circle, like right about now, my circle is not that big. It's crazy because I'm actually evolving or revamping my circle right now, because as I've grown and as I've learned more, it's not that you don't have, people use the term of I have to cut people off. You don't have to cut people off. Sometimes as you just grow and mature and learn, you all start to understand that we just don't fit in each other's lives like we used to, and that's it. So that is very important. Being able to surround yourself with those individuals where you all can help each other, you can challenge each other, you can build each other up, you can be sensitive, you can be emotional, and we're going to talk about that in another topic. Are men emotional? Short answer, yes. And the last point that we're going to talk about today is, guys, make sure that we are emotionally connecting to our children. And when I say emotionally connecting to our children, just keep talking. When they don't want to listen, you keep talking. When they get upset, you keep talking. When they tell you they don't like you, you be the one to initiate the next conversation. Don't always wait on our children to be the ones to say, well, I guess I'll go talk to him now. You be that person. Learn your child, of course, and know what works and what does not work for them, but never stop talking to your children. I'm using Michaela as she's my oldest. I told her, I don't care how old you get, I'm always going to give you my opinion of a thing. Now, Michaela is technically an adult, but I also have to understand that she doesn't always have to take what I give her and add it to her life immediately. But I have to respect this transition period that she's in where, yes, I'm her father, but she's also adult, and I have to give her her space to live her life. But I'm still going to talk. Not aggravate, not agitate. And that's the key. I'm not going to agitate. I'm not going to keep poking the bear to do little things to be petty dad. But I am going to keep talking because I want to build a relationship. I always say I want my girls to be to a point where they feel like they can talk to me about everything. Even if they don't talk to me about everything, I just want to be able to create a relationship where they feel like they can talk to me. So that's my challenge to our dads on the day. You know, I appreciate our fathers. We do a lot. Hats off to you guys. You do an amazing job. We all have different situations of which we are parenting. We may have some guys who are married. We may have some single fathers. We may have some co-parenters. We may have guys who were married and their wife died and they're raising their children on their own. We may have two husband households. There's a lot of different ways where we are raising our families. But as men, I encourage us to try to stick together. Be that support for each other, because we all need to hear that you're doing a good job sometimes. So this is from one dope black dad to another dope set of dads. You are doing a good job, but I challenge you to keep going. Do not look for perfection in your parenting. What type of legacy are you truly leaving for your children? Are you healing yourself? And what type of circle are you creating that will challenge you? And last but not least, keep talking to your children. So this has been another episode of Adult Black Dad. I love you all. I appreciate this time. Till next time, I'm out.